I mean, it feels like a physical game every game. Feels like it's been a physical season. But yes, I think, I feel like I've been on the ground a little bit more this series so far. But we just keep getting back up, so that's all you can really say.
Was Game 2 of the WNBA semifinals a fair fight, or did the world just witness a blatant robbery on live television? Caitlin Clark was left absolutely furious on the sidelines, not just because her team lost, but because they were victims of a brutal assault. The game's defining moment wasn't a skillful play, but the instant league MVP A'ja Wilson body slammed an already injured Lexie Hull, sending a chilling message. This wasn't playoff basketball, it was a mugging, and the officials handed Las Vegas the win on a silver platter, raising a terrifying question about the league's integrity.
Watch how the third quarter goes down. At least they called this one. A'ja Wilson creams Lexie Hull like she did 5 times in game 1. Peggy Hammock get 15 calls in a row and one goes another way and she starts screaming and crying. A'ja Wilson doesn't like Lexie Hull. She's always pushing her, but that's an illegal screen, and then Lexie Hull gets called for a foul.
What makes the sting of Game 2 so sharp is remembering the masterpiece Indiana painted in Game 1. They didn't just win, they walked into the fortress of the 2-time champions and systematically dismantled them. Kelsey Mitchell unleashed the game of her life, dropping 34 points and exposing every crack in the Aces' armor. It was a cold, calculated execution that sent shockwaves through the league and proved Indiana was here to dethrone the champs, making the league's golden franchise look utterly beatable.
A'ja Wilson's just a big bully. Look at this. Throws Lexie Hull on the ground. Everything she does is illegal. Look at this one. A moving screen and then pushes Lexie Hull. Do you think they ever call a foul on A'ja Wilson?
The humiliation for Las Vegas was amplified by the performance of their newly crowned MVP. On the very night A'ja Wilson was supposed to be celebrating her coronation as the league's best, she turned in one of the worst shooting games of her entire season. She was completely rattled, channeling her inner Angel Reese with a disastrous 6 makes on 22 attempts. Indiana's defense swarmed her, forcing her into uncomfortable shots and making her look like a rookie. She had no answers, and her frustration was visible with every clanked shot and desperate foul.
And A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces lose Game 1 on their home court to the Indiana Fever, 89-73. The Indiana Fever were in control of this game from start to finish.
But even in that stunning victory, a dark shadow was already looming. The foul count was strangely skewed in the Aces' favor, a quiet warning that the league's golden franchise wouldn't be allowed to go down without a fight. Las Vegas wasn't just beaten, they were publicly humiliated on their home court. The whispers began almost immediately. A loss that embarrassing for the league's darlings meant that payback wasn't just likely, it was practically guaranteed, and what happened next would be uglier than anyone could have imagined.
In the WNBA, you cannot blindside somebody and set a screen on them without enough time for letting the player being screened react. And then look at this. This one, their arms lock up, but you gotta let go at some point. Like, you can't bring the person closer to you and just stay locked in while the offensive player is trying to get the rebound. But we know A'ja Wilson only receives fouls.
When Game 2 began, it was clear Las Vegas had abandoned any pretense of playing basketball. Their new strategy was simple: brute force. Every possession devolved into a street fight of forearms, shoulders, and flagrant collisions, all while the referees looked the other way, calling it playoff physicality. But with 41 fouls called in the game and 16 in a single quarter, this wasn't intensity, it was a calculated effort to break Indiana's rhythm and drag them into a brawl they were never meant to win.
You think you were able to find any flow, and when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively. We didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
No one felt that targeting more than Lexie Hull. Already playing through a severe back injury that should have kept her on the bench, she became the Aces' personal punching bag. Every time she cut to the basket or fought for a rebound, she was met with an extra shove or a hard collision. The assault was relentless, a clear strategy to take out one of Indiana's toughest players by exploiting an existing injury. It was a line that competitive basketball should never cross.
Yeah, Lexie, obviously you were a late add to the injury report today. Just how are you feeling this morning with your back, and what do you have to do to be able to play? I mean, I'm feeling sore still, but I think just a lot of treatment, trying to get, our bodies as ready as we can be. Part of playoffs, I think, for everyone is it's the end of the season. Everyone's a little fatigued, everyone's a little sore. So just trying to go out there and do the best I can. Yeah, a lot of treatment with our trainers. I'm really thankful for them to spend a lot of time with me today, a lot of time with me yesterday, getting me ready for tonight.
The game's most disgusting moment became the body slam heard round the world. As Hull fought for position, A'ja Wilson, the league MVP, lowered her shoulder and slammed into her with a force that had nothing to do with basketball. It wasn't a box out, it was a football tackle. Hull crumpled to the floor in agony, clutching the same back she had injured in Game 1. It was a flagrant, dangerous play designed to intimidate and injure, yet the officials treated it like a common foul, a decision that exposed just how deep the bias ran.
This is what happened. They cut it to 8 and they get 4 fouls in a row. That was not a foul. That was not a foul. This is crazy. 4 consecutive fouls. So from 8, it goes to 13 really quick, and the rest was history. It looks like Howard got hit in the arm by 2 players. They don't call foul. It was a shot clock. But the rest of the game were just a whole bunch of fouls being called. People.
While Hull was playing through pain, the headlines were busy celebrating A'ja Wilson's dominant 25-point performance. But anyone who watched the game saw the truth behind the numbers. Her box score was a complete illusion built on bulldozing her way to the rim, initiating contact, and being rewarded with a whistle that the Fever players never heard on the other end. This wasn't the skillful play of an MVP, it was a win manufactured by physical aggression and blatantly biased officiating.
Yeah, I mean, it's how you look at it. It looks, honestly, by some of the fouls and the way it was going, it looks like we were almost too physical, but yet at the same time, I feel like we have to be able to get that on the other end. I think, sometimes when you just look at the game as a whole, when you look at the way that it works, sometimes you manipulate it into different ways and you have smaller matchups. So, I mean, I just don't think it's really possible all the time for some of those smaller matchups to really do such a clean job of that. But hey, I'm here to hoop, so none of my business.
Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston was trapped in her own personal hell in the paint. Her respectable line of 10 points and 13 rebounds doesn't begin to tell the story of the war she endured. On every play, she was treated like a human pinball, absorbing elbows to the ribs and shoves in the back that went completely ignored. Boston was forced to fight for every inch of space, battling not just the Aces players, but a set of rules that seemed to apply only to her team.
Lexie Hull kept her out of that space as much as she would have wanted to. She did end up with 19 points.
7-0. Aces run has been stopped. Sims in.
Odyssey Sims deserves a medal for her efforts, pouring in 18 points while navigating a minefield. Every time she tried to create offense, she was hacked, grabbed, and swarmed by defenders who knew they could get away with it. Just when it seemed like Indiana might find a spark of momentum, a phantom foul call would stop the game in its tracks, resetting everything. Her points weren't just numbers on a scoreboard, they were small acts of rebellion in a game that was rigged against them.
Purcell on Young. Sims over. A'ja Wilson, she had to put some extra arc.
And through it all, sitting on the sidelines, was the furious general herself, Caitlin Clark. Though injured, her presence was a constant storm cloud hanging over the Aces. Every missed call, every cheap shot on her teammates was met with a look of pure fire. She was up on her feet, coaching, encouraging, and rallying her team with a passion that radiated through the arena. Her anger wasn't just about a single loss. It was about the disrespect shown to her team and the injustice of it all. Clark may not have scored a point, but her leadership from the bench was the fuel that kept Indiana fighting.
Steph, on that note, with Kelsey just having a little bit of a, they were able to contain a little bit more. How did you feel like they were able to be successful in that regard?
I mean, the physicality won. You know, she's like a little pinball. You know, I know that the museum's right down the street, so you know, sometimes I feel like she's getting.
That is the true tragedy of Game 2. The Indiana Fever weren't outplayed or outcoached. They were systematically neutralized. They were dragged into a mud fight where the rules were constantly changing, designed to benefit only one team. Their resilience was undeniable, but each spark was smothered by whistles and Vegas's brute force. They weren't just beaten, they were mugged in broad daylight with the entire world watching.
The physicality is out of control, that's for sure. I mean, you can bump and grab a wide receiver in the NFL for those first 5 yards, but you can do it in the W for the whole half court. You put two hands on somebody like that, it should be an automatic foul. They have the freedom of movement. Freedom of movement. There's no freedom. And I'm not saying that we're not fouling too. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's out of control.
This brings up a question the WNBA can't keep ignoring. Does the league have a credibility problem? When a championship contender has to resort to dirty plays and needs the officials to deliver them a win on a silver platter, it taints the entire sport. Fans are left wondering if the outcome is predetermined, if the league is more invested in protecting its established dynasty than ensuring a fair contest. This wasn't just a badly officiated game, it was a potential crisis of...
Now the starting point guard, and here's Hull, an early test. Great sign because her shooting has been off. Yes. Mitchell. Short. Hull with another offensive rebound, turn, shoots, scores. 2 of their last 3. Hull again, yes. Oh,
You found it.
The Aces' tactical plan was as dirty as it was effective, especially when it came to shutting down Lexie Mitchell. After her Game 1 explosion, Vegas put her in a defensive prison. She was face-guarded the entire length of the court, bumped on every cut, and flattened by illegal screen. By the time she could even touch the ball, the shot clock was dwindling, and a quality look was impossible. It wasn't discipline, it was a physical assault greenlit by the officials.
Fever runs still. Lexie Hull has scored the last 6 points for Indiana with a couple of threes. Mitchell, good look. And she got it. Lexie Mitchell in that first half had 9 points, but was just 1 of 5 from 3-point range. It was Lexie Hull doing the damage from 3, and now she's doing a Lexie Mitchell imitation of the night.
In a stunning post-game twist, even the Aces coach, Becky Hammond, admitted she wasn't happy with how rough the game had become. Imagine that. Her own team benefited from the chaos, the endless whistles, and the physicality that shattered Indiana's flow, and yet she still expressed her discomfort. That's not just a casual comment. It's a quiet confession that everyone knew the line had been crossed and that this win would forever have an asterisk next to it.
If I could just ask you to look forward to the series going to your home court in Indianapolis, how much is that really going to make a difference in this series, and how much does it mean to you guys to have that home court advantage?
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Our fans, they show up and they show out, and so for us just, using that, our own energy, but also using the energy in the crowd, I think it's going to be really great for us.
But through all the chaos and injustice, Lexie Hull's performance shined as an act of pure defiance. Questionable to even play with her back injury, she didn't just suit up, she tied a franchise playoff record with 5 threes. Each shot was a dagger, a fiery response to every cheap shot and missed call. She winced in pain with every step, yet she kept firing, sending a clear message that the Indiana Fever would not be intimidated or broken.
Yeah, we're excited. I know the last time it was the first playoff game in a really long time, so to be able to have 2 more for our fans that have been there with us all season, I'm really excited for that, and we definitely do feed off of their energy, so we're really looking forward to it.
The physical price of Game 2 was astronomical for Indiana. While the Aces celebrated, the Fever retreated to a locker room that likely resembled a MASH unit. Hull needed constant treatment on her back. Boston was covered in bruises from the war in the paint, and the entire team was mentally and physically exhausted from battling 2 opponents, the Aces and the officials. This wasn't just a loss on the scoreboard, it was a battle that left deep scars. Now the entire series is about to flip on its head. The next 2 games aren't in the friendly confines of Las Vegas. They're in Indianapolis, where 17,000 fans are waiting to unleash a tidal wave of fury. Gainbridge Fieldhouse isn't just a home court, it's an amplifier, a place where the crowd's raw anger over the injustice of Game 2 will become a weapon. The Aces are about to find out what it's like to play in a cauldron of pure rage. This is why the home court advantage is about to become the single most important factor in this series. In Vegas, a shove on Aaliyah Boston went unnoticed. In Indy, 17,000 people will erupt, forcing the referees to be held accountable. Every cheap shot, every missed call, and every bit of disrespect will be met with a roar so deafening it cannot be ignored. The pressure is about to shift entirely onto the officials, who will have to choose between calling a fair game or inciting a riot. Let's be clear, the Aces didn't prove their dominance in Game 2. They proved their desperation. Now they have to walk into an arena where a team in a city are burning for revenge. Lexie Hull has already set the tone of defiance. Aaliyah Boston's resolve is unbreakable, and a silenced Kelsey Mitchell is about to explode. Indiana isn't just coming home to play. They're coming home to make a statement and prove that what happened in Vegas was a fluke built on fouls and fear. The war has just begun.